I used to think the guys who could walk up to any girl, anytime, anywhere, were just built differently, like they had something I didn't, some kind of natural confidence inherited from their ancestors. Because for me, it was always the same situation. You notice her, you think about going over, you even start forming what you'd say, and then something interrupts it. That voice in your head that says, hold on, maybe not right now, wait for a better moment. And just like that, the opportunity disappears, while some other dude walks up and does the exact thing you were about to do. And later, you think about it again, what you could have said, what might have happened. I used to tell myself that was just my personality, that some people are naturally more confident, more social, better in these situations. That turned out to be one of the most costly beliefs I had, because research doesn't say confidence is something you're born with. It shows that confidence is something you express through behavior, and approaching a girl you like isn't about who you are. It's about how your brain processes the moment, a process that either holds you back or lets you move forward based on a few key triggers. And once you understand those triggers, approaching stops feeling like this big, intimidating step and starts feeling natural. Here's what actually changes that. Trick 1. Ease into the interaction before it starts. Most interactions don't fail because of what you say. They fail before you even speak because of how sudden it feels to the other person. From her perspective, it goes from zero to a full conversation in a single second. That shift can feel abrupt. There's a concept in psychology called social priming, and the idea is straightforward. The brain responds better to something it's already been gently exposed to. So instead of going straight into a conversation, you create a small moment first. A quick glance, a brief moment of eye contact, a subtle smile, nothing exaggerated, just enough for her to register your presence. Now when you actually walk over, you're not completely unfamiliar anymore. You're someone she's already noticed, and that small detail changes the tone instantly. Instead of feeling like an interruption, it feels more like a continuation. Hey, I think I have seen you here a couple of times, so I figured I'd come say hi. And those first few seconds, which are usually the most difficult, become much smoother. Trick 2. Strip the delivery down. This one is rarely talked about, so listen carefully. Most men don't lose the interaction because of what they say. They lose it in how they deliver it. When there's pressure, the voice rises slightly, the pace speeds up, extra words start appearing. Small fillers like just, kind of, maybe creep in. It sounds subtle, but it completely changes how you're perceived. Instead, you remove everything unnecessary, slow the pace slightly, keep the tone lower, more masculine, and most importantly, cut the fillers. You don't soften the sentence to make it safer, you make it cleaner. For example, instead of saying, I was just wondering if maybe you come here often or something, you say, you come here often? Same meaning, completely different impact. One sounds unsure, the other sounds grounded, and that difference isn't about confidence, it's about control, because the less you try to smooth things out, the more natural authority your words carry. Trick 3. Focus on understanding, not impressing. Most men approach women with the same thought. How do I make a good impression? And that mindset creates pressure. Every word starts to feel important. Every pause feels awkward. Every reaction gets analyzed. And that energy comes across more than you think. It feels slightly forced, like you're trying to achieve something instead of simply being present. The moment you start trying to be impressive, you become less interesting. She says something simple like, I just came here after work. Most men respond, oh, nice. What do you do? But the tone is automatic, expected, forgettable. Now compare that to curiosity, real curiosity, not asking questions just to fill space, but actually wanting to learn something about the person. After work? That usually says a lot. Was it a good day or one of those days you just wanted to leave? Studies in social psychology show that people who display genuine interest are seen as more attractive, more engaging, and more confident, not because they say something impressive, but because they create a different kind of interaction, one where the other person feels noticed, heard. Interesting, when you shift from let me show who I am to I want to understand who you are, everything changes. The conversation becomes easier, more natural, and without trying to prove anything, you come across as far more confident. Trick 4. Stop treating it like a formal conversation. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say next, because this part can dictate whether she gets completely bored of you or more curious. Most men approach like it's a formal interaction, like it's a job interview. Safe questions, predictable flow, no risk. Hi, how was your day? What do you do? It's polite, but it feels routine. There's no tension, no personality, nothing that separates the interaction from every other conversation she's had that day. What changes that is removing the seriousness, not by being loud or over the top, but by adding a small layer of playfulness. You shift from standard questions to light observations or subtle teasing. For example, instead of asking a typical question, you might say, you look like you're about to say something interesting. Then she pauses and starts to think, wait, do I have a weird look on my face? Now her attention locks into the interaction. It's not about what you say, it's about how the interaction feels. It signals you're not trying to follow a script. You're present, a bit playful, and willing to take a small risk. That's where subtle attraction starts, because now the interaction feels different. Not forced, not overly serious, but slightly unpredictable in a good way. And that's what makes people engage more, because it feels less like a routine conversation and more like something real. Here's what most men don't realize. The approach itself isn't the difficult part. The difficult part is everything that happens before it. The hesitation, the overthinking, the scenarios you create in your head that never even happen. Because in reality, the interaction is short, just a few minutes. The worst realistic outcome? A normal conversation that doesn't go anywhere. But the alternative, the moments where you don't act, those are the ones that stay with you because they never fully resolve. They stay open, unfinished, and that's what your mind keeps going back to. Not the conversations you had, but the ones you didn't, the ones that never started. Choosing to act even when it feels slightly uncomfortable changes that. Not instantly, but over time. Those small decisions build something different. A version of you that moves instead of hesitates, not because you became someone new, but because you stopped letting that initial pause control your actions. It starts small. One glance, one step, one sentence, and the willingness to move before your mind convinces you not to. Because in the end, it's rarely the things you did that stay with you. It's the moments you let pass. And once you recognize that, you don't see those situations the same way anymore. This is the High Value Mastery. Remember to subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one.